All roads lead to California this week on the campaign trail, unless you're former Vice President Joe Biden. It appears that he's taking a detour and heading to the Granite State instead. With more than a dozen candidates attending the Democratic National Committee's summer meeting, Biden essentially has the nation's first primary state all to himself. For more on Biden's reasoning behind this move, we are joined by Associated Press political reporter Hunter Woodall, joining us from Manchester, New Hampshire. Thank you so much for joining us. It looks super sunny there.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Hunter, explain why Biden is avoiding California, at least for now, and staying in the Granite State. What is the strategy, and how effective do you expect it to be?
Well, Biden seems to be really handling this front runner status fairly well. It's a little bit of that basis of I'm going to zig while everybody else zags. He's tended to kind of show when he comes out here and talks to voters, I'm Joe Biden, you should trust me, you know me, I'm this known quantity. And that's kind of been reflecting well as he goes and talks to these voters. He hasn't been drawing considerably large crowds here, but the crowds that do come out to see him do really like him, do seem to be plugged in to what he has to say. All goes to show, he isn't drawing the largest crowds of the candidates out here. Those are candidates like Senator Sanders, Senator Warren, or even Mayor Pete Buttigieg. But it is that tendency to show Biden can relate to voters here, and he is resonating, at least partially so far early in the cycle.
So that's really interesting what you say about the crowds, because the recent polling numbers indicate something otherwise. A Democratic presidential primary poll in the state finds that Biden is leading with 21.4% support. Senator Bernie Sanders is trailing by nearly about 5 points, and that's followed by Elizabeth Warren. Now, in 2016, Sanders did get the lion's share of support. He got 60% of the vote in New Hampshire, while Hillary Clinton just got 38% of the vote. So I'm curious, because you say that the crowds are not really coming out for Biden the way they are for Sanders, but polling indicates that at least voters are really interested in the former vice president over Sanders. What do you think is different this time around? Is it back to that same old story that, what Sanders was saying during the last election was novel and unique, and now everyone else is saying basically what he's saying?
Well, when you look at this, some of the largest crowds we've seen have been from Mayor Buttigieg, Senator Warren, here in New Hampshire. I will say, with what you're seeing from Senator Sanders, he does relate to folks. The folks that really liked him in 2016 tend to really like him now, but the folks that voted for him more or less because they felt like they had a binary choice aren't rushing to him as much as they did in 2016. They have a lot of other options. But for Biden, there seems to be this kind of thought of he relates not just to the plugged-in voter that obviously loves former President Obama and loves Secretary Clinton, but also just the casual voter that doesn't want to stress so much about the presidency. I talk to so many voters who really their big concern is they want to beat Trump. They very badly want to beat President Donald Trump, and they see Biden as the best alternative to do that. You have folks who their top three can be Warren, it can be Buttigieg, it can be Sanders. Biden keeps coming up as, I feel like he can win. Though others do say they are concerned about his age, they are concerned about what he has to say on the stump speech sometimes. I was here in New Hampshire back in June. I actually saw a staffer had to take the mic away from him and cut off an event early as he was trying to take a final question. So things like that can be concerning to voters that see him.
So there is actually one other candidate in New Hampshire today. It's Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Yesterday, she addressed her call for former Senator Al Franken to resign. Everyone recalls those photos that came out, Al Franken, and in the wake of the Me Too movement, and he inevitably resigned. She was one of the women at the forefront saying that he should step down. Let's listen to what she had to say about that.
My decision was to call him to resign. His decision was to resign, to not wait for his congressional hearing, to not wait for his next election. Those are his decisions, and his alone. There's always room for redemption of anybody. I don't know why this conversation is so difficult. Anyone who wants a second chance, it's always there for everyone. We're a country that believes in second chances. We believe in someone who has humility, who comes forward to say they're sorry and they have paid consequences and want to reemerge. That's always there for everyone.
So she's getting ready to speak there in just a bit. What can we expect to hear from her? And do you think maybe she might receive a little bit of backlash from those comments that we heard just there? You know, there have been most recently some, I don't know if you want to call it regret expressed by some Democrats as to how quickly calls for Senator Franken to step down, how quickly and how loudly they came. Do you think she's going to have to sort of answer to that?
Well, today Senator Gillibrand's talking about her mental health care plan that she rolled out today. A good deal of it deals with rural access and helping younger people deal with mental health issues. To the point about Senator Franken, it is interesting when you talk to voters here. There has been a tendency, and I've been surprised by this as I talk to folks, when I ask them, how do you feel about Senator Gillibrand, voters, and it's both men and women, say, I don't like how she handled the Al Franken situation, and that bothers me, and that keeps me from really wanting to support her. So there is that kind of trickle-down effect, because obviously this was a major issue a little while ago, but it has continued to kind of plague her here in the Granite State.
Yeah, that's really surprising. When we're talking about the kind of news cycle that we deal with and issues rise and fall so rapidly, you wouldn't think that people were still thinking about Al Franken, but it appears they are. So the president was actually also visited the Granite State recently. He was there for a Keep America Great rally. He narrowly lost New Hampshire in 2016. How is his re-election bid being received there?
Again, it's interesting when you talk to voters here. I reported a story last week that showed there are some voters who were with the president in 16. They're independents and Republicans, and now they are feeling some Trump regret. They were hoping kind of that an outsider businessman could help them. Some of them are small business owners. Some of them, obviously are just workers. And the sense was they don't feel like they've got what they kind of wanted from the president. Now, I will say that rally, it was overflow crowd. I was out there watching with the overflow crowd. These are folks that really do seem to love the president and kind of hang on his every word. Though it wasn't just people from New Hampshire. You had folks from Maine and Vermont and Massachusetts as well. So large crowd hanging on the president's every word, but I'm not sure if it shows how much enthusiasm there is for him in New Hampshire. He is facing a primary challenge here from former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld. That's kind of failed to gain traction so far. You have to remember, too, Trump, the president, was not that popular with Republicans even after he won the Republican primary here. Since then, he has become much more popular. People have really jumped on board with him. So he has become more popular in the state, though you do see a little bit of that issue of he is bleeding off some of those independent voters.
Yeah, they'll come out for the show, but will they come out to vote? That's the question that remains to be seen. Hunter, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.